Half all adults. No one picks girls here. The real close teams are. Where's it? Plainview? Where's Plainview? So most of us came from more of a distance, which we appreciate people traveling from Sachem. We have diverse people here. We're all living with Longwood, right? Yeah. So I really appreciate you guys making the trip out to join us. For those who will be presenting, you want to project like I'm projecting now, so people in the back can hear you. But also, we have a microphone in the back. We're going to live stream this thing for the first time. So we have
and we are live.
YouTube live channel we're doing. So unless you're speaking at a volume where the person in the back can hear you, the microphone also will not be able to hear you. So please do that. And when we have a discussion at the stage, that the same is going to apply. We need to kind of project like you want people in the back. We do want to hear you. We all care what we have to say. I've been involved in a few conferences recently. I ended up going to 2 conferences this summer, one for computer science teachers, which was fantastic. And then I got invited to the Amazon Web Service Conference in Manhattan because a friend of mine is in the industry, and I was probably the only teacher there. But it was an amazing event with lots of technology shared, lots of people make connections, and in fact, 2 of my graduates, 2 college kids, joined us at the event when they heard about it. It was really a great event with what I like to think of as cool conference culture. So this is a conference I was happy to not have to organize after organizing one a few weeks ago. And kids organized this, and we have students presenting. So I love this little chance to give FRC students a taste of what professional conference culture is like. It's a mini conference, only a couple of hours, not a whole day thing, not a whole week thing, as some things are. But if you look around on YouTube and online, you're going to see there's lots of big professional conference events that go on all over the country throughout the year. Hosted by Google, hosted by Apple, hosted by Amazon, lots of different events. For technologists, to share information, to network, to learn from each other, and to share ideas. So, I'm going to turn over to my students. Thank you all for coming. This is Triki Shah. She is our VP of Operations. And please give her a hand.
Hi guys, my name is Triki. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Associate Engineer. But before anything, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for our 8th annual Regal Roundtable Conference. We're really excited to have so many teams here to support us and to spend the afternoon learning from one another. And most importantly, snacking. So if you haven't already, please grab a couple of refreshments available outside. Before we get started, you've already heard from our mentor, Ms. Celestina, but I'd like to introduce our team captain, Ari.
Once again, thank you guys for coming. I hope that everyone made it here safely and it wasn't too much of a pain for everyone to get here. Since these teams are going to be presenting, we want you guys to give them your full attention so that they will give you the same respect when you present yourselves. And let's have a good conference.
This afternoon, we'll be hearing from 4 different teams who will be sharing projects, tools, and initiatives that they've developed this season. Each presentation highlights a different part of what makes FRC such a collaborative and innovative space. But before we do any of that, we have a presentation from Regal, an official FRC sponsor and a company dedicated to creating recycled filaments. And might I add, some of the best filaments. So can you please give the warmest welcome to their team?
Really cool. Thank you guys for your time. We really appreciate it. We won't take too much of it. I'm Richard Silverfeld, my wife and partner Barbara. Together we form Regal 3D. And what we do is we take scrap plastics, which is in the form of pellets, and we turn it into a film. Right here. So this is all done in the United States, and it's all made from recycled plastics. The advantage of using clear is that you can turn it into any color. You've got 30 plus. You've got 30 colors right now. A bunch of them are translucent. And what we started to do of recent, this is a prototype and I'll pass it around, we would be the only company in the entire United States that makes radiant filament in PETG. You probably have seen it in PLA, and you've certainly seen it from overseas imports, but in the US, we would be the only one. Which is really incredible because we started this company 6 years ago, no idea where it would take us, and here we are, 5th year at first, meeting students from all over the planet. Got to be at Dean Kamen's his place multiple times. And it's a pleasure and a joy. Bob can talk to you about what we're doing with Bamboo.
So in addition, so every year, like part of what we do in terms of sponsoring first is we have a voucher in gift cards. I'm sure some of you have seen it, which is live right now. We have a voucher for our filament, for like half off of our filament. And in addition, we're teaming up with Bamboo, where we're offering 3 of their printers at a discounted rate, plus with free filament of theirs, PLA. So if you didn't already have a chance to check out our virtual parts for our voucher, take a look when you have a chance. Right now, things are a little crazy with them because, well, Black Friday pricing ended yesterday, so, but maybe now it's just calm down with that a little bit. I don't know if you tried.
Right, the holiday season, we had tons of sales. We sold like 50 printers in just a handful of days. And it takes time for them to start that. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so the printers that we're teaming up with them are the A1 combo, the P1S combo, and the P2S combo. Just so you know.
Are you guys 3D printers in the room? Can you show me your hands if you've actually used one?
Oh, most of you.
Good. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you're in STEM, so for sure. Do you, and just curiously, do you use it for like fun stuff or more for first robotics, which is fun, but do you print like dragons or do you do parts to like help mom and dad fix stuff in the house?
Anyone?
I have the P1S at home, and I usually use it to help my parents. Like whenever we make scrolls for our closet, for like my mom had a Pyrex lid that recently failed on her, so I make one out of TPE for her, so that it's flexible.
Yeah.
So, like those kind of parts we got most print at home. But here it's honestly all over the closet.
Sure. Excellent. Can I hear from a few others? Don't all talk over
Okay,
each other.
there we go.
So our team has a few X1Cs, which are great. They print extremely well for the
Yeah,
books
but
of the robot.
X1Cs are no longer.
Really?
They're discontinuing them.
Well, we love them for what we have now. But I personally have an Ender 3 Pro, which is on its last legs. But yeah, I also would agree. I use my printer for mostly useful things around the house and combat robotic stuff too.
Sure. Well, when you're ready to replace that, make sure you use the kit of parts or contact us and we'll walk you through the process.
Does anyone have any questions?
I want to hear more.
Well, they don't, but
All right.
they don't have any, yes.
Can you tell us about the stuff you have on that table?
I can. Are there other questions?
Yeah, I was just really excited to hear about the process for turning these pellets into the filament that you guys have.
Sure.
Yeah.
So briefly, it's actually, we get the pellets because we have a relationship with the manufacturer.
Right,
So-
so just backing up a tiny bit, Rich has been in the post-industrial recycling, plastic recycling business for like almost 30 years. So it's through these contacts that we were able to have this particular contact.
Exactly. So it's a packaging material, and when the packaging material is made properly, then we don't get any scrap out of it. But when the manufacturer screws up some way somehow, which could be, it's like a sheet. So maybe the thickness of the sheet is wrong, or they cut it to the wrong size, or there's something called fisheye, where the layers of the sheet are slightly off, and you can't see clearly through the sheet. It goes into the green grade 3D pot. And what they will do is they will chop up the sheet, melt it down, extrude it out into a strand, and then chop it into little pellets. So that's how we get it. We get it just like this. So then when we buy it, we pick it up, send it to our extrusion facilities, which we have 3 right now.
Michigan, Tennessee, and Illinois.
And each plant makes their own set of colors. So, and I'll pass this out too. So that's the process.
It's really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And one other thing, it's important, these things are really clear. There's no filler in it. That's how we're able to get really bright colors. And I didn't bring anything translucent, unfortunately. But it makes a big difference. The raw materials is what makes filament good.
Can you take like bamboo cloths and filament groups, like little extrusions that come and you change the filament? Can you recycle those back into filament?
We can.
But it won't be obviously clear. It would be like whatever color.
It would be gray.
It'll be gray, exactly. You can mix all these colors.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want to, because if I tell you, I can speak in metric tons, blow your guys' mind. We have like 50 metric tons of this stuff. So I wouldn't want the bamboo proof, but it definitely can be done. And we can talk about some possible opportunities down the line about that.
How strong is this filament?
How strong is it?
Yes.
It's really good stuff. The layer adhesion is excellent. So it is high quality.
Yeah, I'll pass that around 2 models that,
Thank you.
both, that we designed and printed with our stuff. I'll start up here and I'll start back here. This way you can see how strong it is.
Here's the prototype. And here are the pellets. There you go.
And then, yeah, I'll just go in the middle in case things. These are just like a sample, like Pop
Sir.
Tarts.
Yes, so, question about external properties. Sometimes our team prints things like bearings or other pieces that rub against each other. And we found that some of these, plastics will melt due to friction. What are the thermal properties of the piece of product?
Well, your best bet for like little pieces would be nylon. Nylon is the choice for like ball bearings and tough material. PETG is a notch down, but because our stuff, again, the layer adhesion is really tight, it's not going to fracture as much. It's going to have that's what I'm looking for. Surface area. Your surface area will be bound together nicely. I don't have any raw numbers in front of me, but if you need some data, I can get it to you.
They said they're discontinuing the XMC. So, are they also discontinuing the part of the 2X? Because they're actually primarily the XMC, so I'm wondering.
Which one?
Because our team also uses XMC printers, so I was
Yeah.
wondering if we have to.
I think it's the P2S is going to replace that one, right? The X1C.
The X1C is being replaced with P2S.
You know about
That off the top of my head.
the T1S and the T2S?
Yeah, I don't have all the, I didn't, like, it's all online.
Yeah, I'll just read it.
Do you have different sizes of filament, or is it all just like one size?
Okay, so it's a good question. The standard thickness is what we offer, 1.75. If you need a printer that uses a 2.85, we have it. Not much, but we have it.
And we can make it.
And we can make this bread, of course. What we're also doing, and you guys are going to be the very first to know, nobody knows. We're doing 4 colors. Typically, the spools are 1 kilogram, right? Okay. 4 colors, we're going to do 1.2 kilograms and charge it the same. So it's black, white, our brand new translucent purple, and our brand new fluorescent orange. We're going to call it safety orange. So all those spools will be sold at your typical $3.80 price, but have 20% more at no charge, which is great value, A, and B, if you're doing multicolored prints, it's fewer trips to the AMS, stuff.
Yeah, and it's more strength to it. And if you have put identical things and one's in a car and both are in the car, and it's really hot out, one's gonna melt and one's not. You know, so and being that this is recycled, it has nothing, it does not take anything away from the property of PetG.
It's actually a better quality than what you're used to using because that is highly filled and there's nothing in this besides raw PET and color.
And because our material is not filled or anything like that, our PetG can actually run on PLA settings. So if you're used to running PLA, you don't have to reslice anything. You would just change the temperature of your bed to 85. But you can run our stuff from like 205 to 245-ish, you know, so. Yeah. Yep.
We're the Longwood guys. Cool. We live in Medford. So we're a block away from you. And we should talk.
So we know your commute. We've been there with.
All
So
right.
any last questions, comments?
I'm just wondering, can you make photos from plastic bottles?
That's PET, not PetG.
Yeah.
It is possible, we don't do it, but there are extruders that do that. What's the name of them?
Yeah. The recycler or something. I don't know. If you just shoot us an email or go on our webpage. Wait till after Christmas, please, because I turned the chat off because we're getting bombarded, and I can't do it. But right up to
But
Christmas.
there are companies that try to do it. It's not always so easy, but it's something that's not possible. But it's different. Like I said, bottles of PET.
There's a reason why you don't see PET filament when you see PET sheet. It's because PET is really brittle. That's the problem. Believe me, I hear it all the time. You know, even in third world countries where they've got a gazillion bottles that they want to turn into film. It works, but it doesn't work well.
Yeah, question?
We have what?
Do we have any deals with? Yes, yes, and even like military and stuff like that.
Yeah, we sold a case to the Army, we sold a case to Lockheed, and we sold a case to Google.
Probably even more than.
Only, or? Yeah, well, they're manufacturing states, right? There's tax benefits to those places. New York is not such a great manufacturing state. So they have shops there, and we never work a deal with them. Both parties. Nothing negative about New York, but it's tough to do manufacturing.
So we're gonna let you guys continue your roundtable. And we're gonna be here too, but
Sure.
everybody has to move on.
Yeah. Whenever you're done with the stuff, it's passed over to us.
Thank you.
Can we give one more thank you to Richard and Barbara for their wonderful presentation? This team presentation. Our team, the Regal Eagles, are going to start our own presentation.
Alex, you get a free candy cane.
as I'm sure many of you guys do within your own team, we conduct our training during our off. So what we do is we basically put all our different new members into different subgroups, and we teach them the skills that they need for each specific subgroup. And this basically strengthens the skill set, builds confidence, and improves teamwork that they'll need for the upcoming season.
Our team's philosophy is simple. You learn by doing. We introduce new tools and teach new skills through hands-on learning experiences instead of passive observation. We use shadowing, pairing our rookies with veteran team members, and we have all of the team members rotate between each sub-team, making sure that they understand the broad system for efficient build season.
So the way we organize our training is by daily schedule. So each day, a different group meets for training. For example, Monday's mechanical, Wednesday's CAD, Thursday's operations, and Friday is lessons of programming. And during these trainings, we do a mix of presentations and hands-on experiences so that students get a feel of how training works. So, for example, one day in mechanical training, maybe they'll be learning about a presentation about the different subsystems on the robot. But in operations on another day, they may be actually cold calling and reaching out to sponsors and such. And this, by incorporating a training schedule like this, it allows all of our new members to sort of test the waters and see, okay, which training group do I like the most, which one do I see myself doing in the upcoming season.
To measure our team members' understanding, their comfort level, and their skill growth in each of these sub-teams, we use a weekly anonymous survey. In these surveys, we ask our team members to answer simple questions. What is one thing that they learned? What is one thing that they found helpful in the training groups? And what is something our team leaders can improve on? And this data can help our team lead adjust the pace of the training, put focus on some things over others, and it ensures that no one falls behind quiet.
So another thing we incorporated new this year is our training log. And this document is shared among all our leads. And basically at the end of every training session, our leads will fill out this document, fill out, okay, what did we cover during the training, what skills did we work on, any specific notes, who attended the training, stuff like that will be all written down on this document. And we use it as, it's a good sense of documentation in which we can look back and see, okay, what kind of stuff worked, what kind of stuff we need to change for the future, and all that is great for creating accountability and consistency within the training aspect of our team.
Now we're going to talk about each of our main sub-teams and our key goals within training.
So our first sub-team is the mechanical and carpentry team. So over the past few weeks, these mechanical students have been learning about different tools and different subsystems in our on our robot and that we use in the lab. So they've worked hands-on with drilling, both into metal and wood, bending metal, and even disassembling and reassembling our every part. And also, they've learned about the different subsystems on our robot, like the drivetrain, shooter, and climber, and all that stuff about the robot that they need to know for how the robot works pretty much. Now, as we get to the end of our training season, we've introduced the mechanical training project. And what this project is it's basically, it splits the students into two groups, either shooter or chassis group, and they'll work together on designing and building their own chassis or shooter. And this sort of gives them a way to understand how we work during the build season and sort of the design process that we go through post kickoff every year.
Next are our electrical and our programming sub-teams. In the electrical team, students are going to learn wiring basics, cable management, crimping, troubleshooting, and even understanding and following diagrams. In our programming training group, students are going to learn the basics of Java through guided modules and Pinota, and it helps them understand and become familiar with the language for build season. The training project will require students to mount and wire all of the components on a wooden electrical board so that they can practice the placement, wiring, and test motors before installing anything onto the actual robot.
Our next training group is the CAD and CNC. So over the past few weeks, these students have been working on sort of getting to know Onshape. They've designed their own sketches, learn how to use all the tools, and recently we've had them start practicing making their own designs on their own with these drawings. So we'll basically give the students CNC machine, which both carbide motion and carbide create, which they'll need when we need to produce parts during the build season. Now, like I mentioned before with the mechanical project, CAD training goes hand in hand with that, because the CAD training that they learn during this will be applied when they're creating the designs for the shooter and chassis for the mechanical module.
Finally, the operations sub-team. And in the sub-team, students are going to learn a multitude of things, including logistics, organizing events, video editing, social media, marketing, and reaching out to sponsors. Our two projects focus mainly on public speaking and selling yourself and the team to others. Our first project is cold calling, where students are going to split up into pairs and work with veteran team members to research companies and make introductory phone calls using an already prepared script. And our second project, the definitely more fun one, was Shark Tank, where students were split up into 4 groups and were required to plan out their own outreach event. They were asked to create it from scratch, including the budget, the logistics, where everything was, who they were going to be, and how they were going to get members. And they presented this to a board of 4 sharks.
Thank you guys for listening to our presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
So we had everyone split up into 4 members, and myself, Nikhil, our team captain Aryan, and our vice president of engineering, Ashik. The 4 of us, we were sharks, and we had each of these groups. They had about 4 weeks to prepare an event, and they were given examples of what we've done in the past, like a roundtables event or STEM nights. And what they were required to do was to basically plan out an event that would have an impact on the community, be fun and engaging, and it would also teach them what goes into planning an event and what you should be looking for and how you should be incorporating all aspects. The winner, we counted it by points, and then the winner, I think we're working on it right now. We're implementing their project right now, getting that into plan right now, and we had it was an outdoor event. So it was basically so it was an outdoor event, and it was basically like a STEM night but outdoors in a park like Bethpage State Park. And I'm just trying to remember what we did. We did something fun for the winners, but the main goal was to implement their event in the future.
In terms of leadership, how is your team structured, and what role do the heads play in preseason training?
So basically, the way our team is structured is we have our captain, of course, and we have 2 vice presidents of engineering and operations. And underneath these, so let's say underneath engineering, we have our mechanical leads, CAD leads, electrical and programming leads, and they're the ones who run the training. And then similar for operations, we have our VP of operations, fundraising lead, and video editing lead, and they're the ones who run the training.
So with the Google form you guys have, like with the anonymous feedback form, I know for robotics and also other companies try something like that, but we have this issue where no one will fill it out. So how do you guys work around that, or is it just volunteer based, whoever has feedback?
We send weekly reminders. We post it on our Google Classroom, on our Discord, and we try to voice it a lot too. So whenever one of us are in the lab, we constantly speak reminders, make sure you're filling out this form by Friday. Make sure, and on Google Classroom we'll have to post it on our Discord.
Any other questions?
When it comes to teaching your new kids how to use stuff like the CNC machines, is that software naturally intuitive, or is it something that you have to spend a lot of time working on?
What do you mean? Wait, say that again?
When you're teaching your new members how to use stuff like your CNC machines, is this software you guys use rather intuitive, or is it something you have to spend a lot of time working on?
Are you talking about how the program, the software works?
Yeah, I guess so.
basically for our like Carbide Create, we teach them how to create like tool paths for the specific designs. So essentially, it's not too difficult for them to handle, but we do like try to teach them a lot so they get a joke in their head so they know how to do it. If that answers your question.
I think so.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, we'll move on to our next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to invite Team 3624, the Soaring Cult, to give their initiative, share about their initiative before 3624. We're looking forward to hear about the work that you guys have done.
So I'm Dan.
I'm Anya.
I'm Ahmed, and we're here today to talk about
Free FRC!
So, a little bit of background on our team. The Soaring Colts has been around for 14 seasons. Beginning our journey in 2011 with Lego Motion, we've evolved into a pillar of both the Half Hour Hills community and First Long Island. So through robotics excellence and community engagement, we've established ourselves as dedicated advocates for STEM education, which is part of the inspiration that prompted Free FRC.
So now you may know us from our Kenneth R. Bessie Junior Annual Invitational. So this is our signature off-season event, and we see it as that it serves a huge vital purpose in the First Long Island community. We see new members engage in genuine competition, and veterans can refine their skills and mentor the next generation. This is the kind of principle that we have when we look into our other events. So that moves us to more community leadership. That first being with our annual women's seminar, Golden Robots, and our STEAM fair. And next, year-round mentorship program, which brings us to pre-FRC. So essentially, our goal as a team is to build a collaborative, sustainable learning environment that strengthens the entire FRC community. So with pre-FRC, we're allowed to bridge the gap between FTC and FRC to adequately introduce these 8th graders to the complexities of FRC and introduce them to our team as a whole.
So, why we wanted to do FRC was just a natural evolution of our commitment to the First Values. So our vision is to bridge the gap between the 8th grade and FTC and having competition-ready skills coming into FRC. And our need for it is that our traditional way of recruitment from the 9th grade to 12th doesn't exactly guarantee that we'll retain members throughout that time. So having kids come in 8th grade and have that experience from FRC kind of secures their position on our team and ensures that we have skilled members. And obviously our solution to this need is just having each Saturday we have in the mornings we have the training programs for the 8th graders, just teaching them basic wiring, programming, and mechanical skills, so that way they get to understand how to work on the robot as a prerequisite for FRC. So in terms of actually what we teach the kid, when we teach these 8th graders, so mainly our main concern is teaching them about hardware skills in terms of mechanics. So we teach them things like using power tools, basic robot parts, wiring, electronics, and software. So obviously we can't have them be using like major power tools like a chop saw or a bandsaw. So that either the mentors or one of the students who are already on the team will go forward with doing that. But the students do have their hands in the process and learning how FRC electronics work, things like the Regal, spark maxes, motors, building mechanisms. So what we do each year with pre-FRC, in the past 2 years we've run it, is the end goal is to create one basic tank drive train that the students will be able to run. They can, on the last day, they can show their parents and be able to drive it around. But basically our main focus is teaching them the bare bones technical skills that they can have to get them a strong foundation to move into next year when they come to high school.
So we actually, before we bring them into our robotics lab to actually do this project of making a mini tank drive, we invite them to our invitational. And we find this to be incredibly important so that they can learn about FRC and really see what they're getting themselves into and how interesting and fun it could really be. So this gives us then the
opportunity to observe the robots and see a real competition and what they have the potential to do in their upcoming years on the team. And we found that this actually really helped with bringing in pre-FRC members because we found that this was super interesting to them, really fun, and something that they had the ability to get into really quickly.
So here we have an example of our pre-FRC students contributing to two invitational things. Chase and Jordan over here with our other Jordan mentor.
Yeah, so also in terms of actually transitioning to FRC, having pre-FRC is good to easily transition into new membership. So at the end of each session, we give pre-FRC members a chance to pay their dues early, and when they actually go into the season, they can skip the bare bones safety and tools training we have since they were already taught this at pre-FRC, and they can move straight into actually establishing their own roles on the team, be it through software, through robotics training, electronics, or through CAD. So I want to tell you a story about a kid here named Hadi Khan. So aside from being buff and devilishly handsome, he was also a pre-FRC alumni. I mean, I really like this kid, you couldn't tell. But he was a pre-FRC alumni, and 9th grade, he came to us, he was working the pits at Invitational, and he was able to go right into, we didn't really need to give him any training or any onboarding to actually how the robot works. He would just get it right in there and working. And I remember there was this one problem we were having, not with our robot Jumper, but the second robot we bought, Dumpy, where one of the pit members, even the pit lead, they didn't actually work with drivetrains a lot, so they didn't know things like checking attention to the drivetrain and whatnot. So I can't remember especially what happened, but Hadi basically took charge of the pit. He was able to figure out a lot of things with getting the tank drive to work. I'm pretty sure he actually helped fix a major issue we had with it. But that just goes to show that when we gave these kids a platform from 8th grade, it's much easier for them to transition and actually have a substantial impact on the team from the beginning.
Exactly, and that's another way that we find leaders for our team early on. These people have so much motivation and so much inclination towards STEM and actually being part of the team like this, so we find that they naturally have these leadership skills, and it's very beneficial to our team and our community as a whole. Thank you. Any questions?
When do you make progress in 8th grade? You start at your invitational in end of October.
So we have Saturday trainings from 9 to 11, I believe, on Saturdays. It's like a cohort. So we actually had to split it up to a cohort this year because of how many people wanted to do it. So we split it up into a Saturday cohort and a Wednesday evening cohort. So we have a Wednesday cohort around 6, I believe. And we find that because we don't want too big of a group so that they can all adequately learn and get all the skills that they need. So that's the time that we need for it after our invitational.
And these are FTC students?
Not all of them, so a lot of them are from middle school, so they either have minimal robotics background or maybe we have had some kids who were only in FLL, but obviously you don't really learn skills because it's FRC or FTC. So really we take yeah, from both of our middle schools, so regardless of whatever team they might be a part of, regardless of their background, allow me to know.
Are there any ways that you incorporate the operations aspect of FFC in your FFC membership program?
I would say that so in terms of operations, you mean like outreach, correct? Yeah, so that's not necessarily what this aspect of our program is focused on. This is more so focused on the actual skills you would need in terms of the lab. But we do have separate training plans that go on in our team once they join the team to join the more operations aspect of it.
How do you advertise and convince eighth graders? Some of them may not even be in FTC. So how would you advertise to them and compel them and encourage them to join FRC? If they're because FRC and FTC even very different, and FRC could be a bit more demanding. So how would you do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did to advertise the past 2 years, our first thing is our district has a school backpack. And essentially when you send out flyers to this backpack, they go to everybody in the district. So we thought that was super helpful in terms of advertising and actually brought in a lot more people than we expected, which is why we had to switch to the cohort model. So we found it to be super duper effective. Beyond that, we also advertise in terms of email. We have a newsletter that goes out monthly during the off season and weekly during the actual season. So we found that also recruited quite a few people that were interested as well. And yeah, that's essentially what we do for the most part in terms of recruitment.
Also, in terms of taking to FRC and FTC, because obviously FRC big robots is still more demanding. The student I brought up earlier, Hadi Nabil, he's actually at Hiles West, the other high school in our district. So that school has an FTC team, but if you want to do FRC, you have to go all the way from west to east, which is our high school where we host FRC. So when you give the kids the exposure at first to FRC, we invite them to the invitational. They were much more inclined to join FRC over FTC in terms of picking between the two. But either way, the goal isn't necessarily to sway one person towards FRC or FTC. It's more so to just give them technical skills. So regardless of what they go into, they're actively prepared.
Yeah, it serves as a really good way to recruit like talent, essentially.
Is it mostly the mentors or the students teaching the pre-FRC?
So we do have, it's mainly more students teaching the actual program. So the mentors will come and they'll open up the lab, then whoever can show up. So the cool thing about this is that instead of it having to be primarily leaders within the team, we can also see potential leaders within our own team who are like maybe freshmen or sophomores instead, because they also know the bare bones skills you need to teach pre-FRC. So it's a cool way of getting an idea of who could be potential leaders in the future.
On your last slide, you mentioned something about paying dues. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah. All right. So essentially, we allow them to pay their dues early because our dues for robotics teams are kind of hefty. We all have to admit that. So essentially, because they join the team early, because they're contributing to the team earlier, we allow them and give them the opportunity to pay their dues earlier so that they're considered a rostered member of the team. So when paying those dues, they get access to like team merchandise, team water bottles, like their own safety glasses, all of that. And I believe we also give them like it's a $50 discount on their dues as well. So that is essentially also plays a role in the recruitment process.
You mentioned that the pre-FRC program is in like the 8th period like fall season, and then by the time they actually join like the actual FRC team, that's in the fall. So like, how do they retain the information? Do you guys have like stuff in the spring, or do they just have their team?
Yeah, so what we're actually planning to do, we were kind of able to do it last year, trying to get implementing more organized this year, is during the season, as we get closer to actually finishing the robot, last year we invited some of the pre-FRC kids to come in and try to come up with some sort of mechanism, not necessarily a mechanism, but something they could add onto the robot. Obviously nothing functional because of issues with like insurance and whatnot, but like, something like last year one of our kids, Jay talked about it earlier, Jordan Pollock, he catted a battery holder. He catted a battery container for a robot. So it wasn't an actual mechanism, but it was something that they were able to contribute to the robot. So being able to use those skills a little bit more down the road in spring, and then obviously transition in the fall, where when they go to invitational again, they get to refresh their skills with that.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you guys.
Up next is Team 564, the Longwood Robo Lions, who will be talking about their project testing. We're excited to learn more about their approach and what they do.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Antonio Benizzi. I'm the Vice President for Team 564 up in Middle Island, New York from Longwood High School, the Robo Lions. Without further ado, I'd like to get into it. So, we heard about a project a couple of months ago called QuestNav, which was essentially putting a MetaQuest headset on a robot. It sounds crazy, but we've heard some teams do it and we've seen it in action and we were like, we're interested. Why not get into it? So we had the opportunity to go to the World Championships, so we talked to a lot of teams there who actually did it. And they had great results about it. So to dumb down further what QuestNav is, pose estimation, I would describe as the robot knowing where it is based off of external sensors, like encoders on the robot, or maybe even cameras. So, as I said, the research from the teams we talked to, Warrior Borgs, Prepatech, Engineers, and Hilltopper, they all had the same comments about it, which was pretty great. They said that it works out great, it needed a little assist from something called vision, and they also had the same issues about it. They all said that the calibration system was a little bit weird, because it's not like you're like tuning the brightness on a camera, you're kind of walking around the field with it, and they had a little bit of connection issues with it, where sometimes they'd be on the field before the match started, and it would kind of like flicker a little bit. But overall, the positives, we saw that the positives overweighed the negatives, and we wanted to dive straight into it. So, the time frame on it is that we had the entire month of July. We spent about 8 hours a day onto it, and we kind of just dive straight into it. So what we've seen, integration on a robot. How do you get a Quest headset onto a robot? So a lot of this information came from the documentation from the people who created QuestNav. Kujong is, we can link you the information to the documentation. It's like Path Planner, it's like Photon Vision. It has its own documentation set up and its own better dependencies. So, how would you start? The first three things you need from the documentation that were listed, the mount. They listed the mount on the documentation. There's a couple of setups that you can have. There's two mounts depending on the Quest 3 or the Quest 3S. You don't have to CAD anything if you don't want to. You can make it your own custom. But they pre-start you with two different files depending on how you want to go. And the adapter. So the adapter is basically what warrants the connection between the Quest and the robot through something called network tables. Network tables is a protocol from the Rio to the radio that allows you to connect to different things that aren't like officially wired in. For example, let's say you're running a linelet. If you've ever run a linelet on your robot, you know that it goes through network tables. Maybe even an RU-cam or something different that you run vision through. That all goes through network tables. The Quest is the same way. It plugs into the radio via the adapter. So the adapter plugs into the Quest, if you can see on the wiring diagram here, and then the adapter also plugs into the Ethernet cable. On the documentation, they have a bunch of adapters listed, but we picked this specific adapter, Cable Matters. Why we picked it, honestly, is a great reason. So we picked this adapter specifically because it allows you to power the Quest while you're using it. So this is a bit of a common theme throughout this presentation, that the Quest, quote-unquote, dies very quickly. If you've seen it, if you have it at home and you've used one at home, you can see it. You get like, what, an hour and a half of playtime on it? For the new Quest 3, maybe 2 hours, depending on how you're using that external battery pack. Well, thankfully a match is 2.5 minutes long. It's not going to die during a match, so it's not that great. But let's say you're testing at home, right? And you push code to the robot, or deploy the robot over and over again, your stuff is just not working. Without plugged into it, it's kind of just going to sit there and die, and then die, and then die. Just like using your phone all day, it's just going to go down and down and down, and eventually, let's say all of a sudden you're at 4:30 and you're like, I need to get that last 15 minutes in, and the Quest is dead, you can't. We've been there a bunch of times. So coding. From a coding standpoint, how does the Quest communicate with the robot? So I've mentioned network tables before, and from the Quest side, the developers who created it, created a quote-unquote QuestNav app. So on the documentation, well, it's a GitHub link. They give you the link for a QuestNav app. So you use something called the Meta Quest Developer Hub, which Meta creates, so you can actually customize your Quest and make apps for it. If you've made apps for it, you know, or from people who just generally make apps for it, make money off of it, whatever they do. They make their own custom apps. QuestNav is the same way. All you do is click on it, or download the app, click on it, put your Quest into your computer, and you can download the app straight from there. All this is on the documentation. That's how I did it straight up. So if there's any issues, you can go refer straight to there. You can just contact us at any point. So on the Quest setup, you're going to, if you're far away, you can closer, you just can't see. But all you have to do is type in in your team number 5-6, or for us it was 564. Depending on your team number, or just that's how the network tables connection facilitated. So testing. How did we test this? So throughout our season, and this is kind of a new thing for us, we kind of had an issue with more automation. Like we only hit, for example, this season, we only hit one coral during auto. Right? We had multiple issues. Like we couldn't go back for a 2 coral because we didn't have the ability for the robot to know where it was accurately for the robot to go to the beam and play station or drive. Well, it could drive, it just wouldn't be accurate. We saw a pathway through that darkness with QuestNav in the sense of we knew how accurate it was. So we used our test robot, which we named Kevin, which was a 29 by 29 chassis, fully CTRE, a CTRE spur drive generator, and we put Pathfinder on it and QuestNav on it. That will become important later. So the first test is just a test where I try to throw rotation off as much as possible. It starts in the blue square and ends in the blue square. One thing I want to just note before I move on to the next test is that there are no April tags on the field anywhere. Right? This is just something I created in our shop just to like spin the robot around and mess it up as rotationally as possible. There's no April tags, there's no limelight, there's no camera that's running photon vision, no RD cam, no nothing. We didn't even tune the sword modules in the sense of there's gear slip. We didn't even give it a case slip ratio. This is literally just go. Next test, please. So for this one, I ran the same auto 5 times in a row. I set the path planner up to start in the same position and end in the same position. So it kept going to the certain spot and stopping at a certain spot. If you know, if you don't put your robot in, I used the logic that you put your robot on the same part of the field if you're running the same auto over and over again. So if it wasn't in the same spot in the first place, then it would run a completely different path. So after all these tests, a little bit of takeaways that I had from it. Again, common thing to remember, we're testing on vision. I've mentioned a couple times, I feel that it's, again, there's no limelight, there's no photon vision. It's just, we're running this just with the Quest headset on. All the cameras from the Quest headset, and that's about it. I talked about this earlier. Again, the notes of, the Quest does die pretty quickly. If you're sitting there after school, and you're kind of just like pushing code and it's not working, you're pushing code, you need something to power it. We use the plug-in, the USB plug-in from the Regal to plug it into the adapter, which effectively powered the Quest enough to stop the dying. It just slowed it down. It still continued to die, just not as fast. On the documentation, there is some sort of solution for that, where we haven't looked into it as much. Feel free to go and look, but there is setups where you can power the Quest based off of like the robot battery power. There's a couple of soldering setups in there. We felt that it wasn't necessary in the sense of we would have 2 charging in the pits and we would kind of rotate them, or we would just charge one after a match and then run prelims before, or anything like that. Lessons learned. Obviously, because there's no April tags, or currently documentation gets updated, so as of right now, we tested this during the summer. So, as of when I tested this, there was no April tag set up, there was kind of no vision in the sense of, it was the same, it's kind of using the same technology as when you like make a boundary with your VR headset if you've ever played games before. But it's going to have some drift if you're going around. It's just like encoders on a swerve module. If you're just driving around, it's not going to end up in the same spot. Even though it is good, it's just not possible. So vision has to get reworked with that somehow. In Houston, we've seen teams work through it with vision. We didn't exactly question them on it because they were actively doing matches. We didn't really feel like bothering them. But we did get some very good information off of like how to start up the Quest. The second thing I wanted to kind of point out, which I learned the hard way, was mount it in an area where it won't get hurt. As you know, robots crash into stuff. Mounting it in an area where it won't get hurt in the sense of if you put it on the front of the robot, or if you put it in an area that's like flimsy or not set up, if you crash into things, it'll either fall or crack. Yeah, we put bumpers on it after that. So, yeah. One thing I do want to point out in the sense of pricing, I think we've all seen the pricing of like an expensive camera, for example, a Limelight 4, where us as a team who kind of pushes for fundraising and sponsorships and kind of want to, you know, make smart purchases, like, we had cameras and we've seen like a Limelight 4 and it was just like, with the machine learning package, choose what we were looking for is, if I'm wrong, correct me, $700, $800, $900, something in that range. While a Quest 3S is more on the $300 range. You could buy 2 Quests and it might work better, well, in this setup it did work better than just straight up localization with a Limelight 4. So on redundancy with prices and stuff like that, it's kind of speaks for itself. And in future work, I mentioned this before, integration with vision. You need something to reset wherever it's going in the sense of let's say you're walking blindfolded and you're kind of walking by yourself. You have very good spatial awareness, but you're walking around and you kind of need that friend to help you and steer you in the right direction every now and again. Yeah, is there any questions?
Yeah, so this is like a pretty new topic to me, so I have no idea how this works, but how is documentation when it comes to programming? Is there like linear, easy to understand, or is it very
So in the sense of someone like me who was kind of new to programming in the sense before I got all the way up here, it was very easy to understand. The person who created it and the developers and the team that worked on it, Ujan, they worked very well on it, and they did like script by script like directions and things like that. I'll give you an example. One of the things was like getting the Quest Nav app on the Quest, and they gave very step-by-step instructions, and they gave multiple methods on how to do it instead of pushing one straight method. So that kind of, yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but how long did it take you to like make the whole thing, and like how much of that time was spent like actually programming it versus like testing it?
Okay. So how long did it take me to like to go from 0 to like actually start running it? To be honest with you, I had just like throughout the month of July, I had like 8 hours a day doing it. So it took me like a good 3 days coming from somebody who just started working on like April tag code and localization with April tags. It was not hard. I followed the documentation like strictly, and they did have a Discord page where you could just like go there with your issues, and like everyone there who's worked on it, they were very, very helpful. So in documentation, it doesn't take long. It really doesn't. Yeah.
I remember you saying how QuestNav can solve the problem of not being accurate when you guys are on autoplay. What instance would QuestNav really be useful on?
Okay, on the field. It's through something called, it's not straight vision, but it's through something called odometry. I'll give you an example, like I'll give you our personal example. One of our limelight code wasn't working, and we only had one working limelight on the robot. So it was straight up with a tag half the time and with high ambiguity. So because we wanted our rotation, the camera wouldn't see a tag based off of where we were going. The robot was not very accurate in terms of, okay, I wanted to drive 5 feet here and stop at the human player station. We used Pathfinder Class for that, but it would go straight. But like, it would stop quite literally halfway to the human player station. It wouldn't even go there. With QuestNav, we wouldn't need to see like April tags for like, so the robot would know where it is. Which is normally how you would do it for setting up like Pathfinder or something like that. You kind of need vision and odometry to help you out there. QuestNav would help by like tracking where you're going, and it would really just get you there without seeing tags or anything. Any questions? I saw you in the back first. No, you're good.
Oh.
You're good.
I don't know if you mentioned this already, but are there any specific advantages that regular visual precision with QuestNav other than not the alpha?
Regular vision versus QuestNav?
Yeah.
So in the sense of, you're actively seeing a tag, so you kind of know that pose is accurate. Whether on QuestNav or like when you're using a Quest headset, as of my knowledge right now, you kind of need to tell the Quest where you start, so it knows where it is and it can actually keep track of as it's going around. And you can trust a vision estimate better than you can trust a Quest over time. For example, as I said, it's very accurate when you're going around, right? But like over time, if you're using it for a while and you're just driving around in circles for like, it's eventually going to have drift, depending on how long you go for. That number, or whatever time, or how long it takes until it drifts, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea. It was pretty accurate when I was testing it and going around with it. But there is a number to that, and eventually, I don't know what it is. Yeah.
You mentioned odometry, that's like when you measure how many rotations it is, right?
In the sense of with
like
the...
how far it's moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, we use Colsons with our swerves. What type of wheels do you use? Do you use like the billet wheels? Or like with your swerve mods, what type of wheels do you guys use?
So, when we were testing this, we were testing on our swerve testing robot, which was a 29 by 29 chassis. We just used the Colson wheels with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we saw that over prolonged use, the Colsons were like wearing down, so our wheel diameter was decreasing, which like messes with our odometry, right? So if we tell Pathfinder or whatever software we're using, we want it to go this far, that distance was becoming shorter and shorter as the wheel radius was changing. So how would that affect quest now?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
In the sense of, remember when I was talking about not tuning the modules or anything in terms of, like for Pathfinder going around with where the pose estimation, the quest is its own thing. So the quest gets thrown into a pose estimator, just like the regular odometry is. So it all goes into the same thing. It depends on how much you trust the quest or not, because you can set that in your code to trust the quest more than anything else, or you can test how much you trust it. So in terms of that, I trusted the quest over everything else strictly because I wanted to see how good it was, and it kind of worked out. It was pretty good.
One more question.
Yeah.
Your wiring diagram, you mentioned EH-109.
Yeah.
Tell me more what that is.
Okay, so that's the radio that we used this year on our robot. Yeah, we got it shipped in the kit of parts, and they kind of sent it to everyone. It became the new standard. After the open mesh, we kind of switched to the VH109, which is the radio, I apologize. That just facilitated our connection between just the robot and the field and whatever for testing. Yeah.
Just kind of similar question to what Ari was asking. It was an impressive demo with a basement there, just moving around, and it's not using a camera. There's no vehicle tag.
No.
So is it estimating distance completely by the accelerometer in the headset? Just basically like the way it knows it's moving around left, right? That's what it's doing.
To be honest with you,
it's a black box and the software works.
I have no idea. In the sense of, I've read it, I've read the documentation over and over again, and I try to understand it. I'm not the best at it, to be honest with you, straight up. What I know is that from regular research and like buying one myself, that it kind of like drops beacons on where you are, in the sense of when you're playing the game. It sets boundaries for itself. I mean, in this it doesn't set boundaries, but it still drops beacons.
But maybe it's similar technology as the boundary to make sure that when you have the headset on, you don't like run into the camera.
Exactly. But instead of using it as a boundary, we turn boundaries off, and it just goes off of like that same technology. Yeah. In the back, yeah.
In terms of what you're talking about, like integrating with like other like your Limelight or Photon vision, you were talking about prioritizing like the Quest Nav and like another one. Like, could you like talk a little bit how that would work into like determining the position of your robot? Is like you're taking some input from your Quest Nav over that, or like if they're conflicting, then you choose one of the other?
So, in the sense of, we've actually ran into this issue before. We went to Half Hollow Hills. We kind of wanted to run the Quest at the same time. It was kind of the Limelight was kind of fighting with the Quest because their poses was so different. In the sense of, like, one was here, and they were just fighting each other. But, they would need to start in the same position. And for me, this kind of becomes weird because you need both. Don't get me wrong, because one needs to they both need to work together, the pose estimator. But eventually, you have to reset the Quest because it's strictly odometry in the sense of it's not having a vision estimate. The Limelight's having a vision estimate, and you would rather trust the one that has eyes than the one that uses its eyes, but is not as good as the other one. And that's a better way to explain it. Do you understand? Is it? Okay. Yeah.
I have this question. Can you use the Limelight vision or the Photon vision to set your initial location quest? Like instead of having to use like you just go on the field and like set where it starts, whatever.
Yeah.
Could you use the Limelight vision to say, okay, I have a safe with that vision, I know where I am. Can you use that to set where the quest starts?
Yeah. So, yeah, we can.
Okay.
So basically, it's the same as anything. Excuse me. We throw the quest into our driver. sense of where it starts everything. So we just push that to Pathfinder, and Pathfinder does it for us. And there is something called, like, you can just set the quest pose by itself. You can make a method for it. The documentation literally gives you the code line for line. You can just throw it in there. It's literally just simple as that. I'm trying to elaborate, but it's just simple. Any other questions? I don't see any. We good?
For our final presentation, we have team 916
It's 3S.
who will be sharing their
3S.
outreach in the entire.
So, I'm sorry.
I'm reading about the problem. It says to use an IMU, it's 60-degree freedom IMU. That's simple. It also says it relies on external candidates.
I think this is just
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Juha. I'm a junior from Sasson.
Also here, I'm Jason.
I'm also a junior and I'm Kristen. And this is our first year in FSC. We're excited to hear our report.
Yeah. Before we begin, I'm just going to give a quick briefing on how our school's technology department is being set up. So we technically have 3 robotics teams in high school. There's one for freshmen, that's an FTC team, another FTC team for sophomores, and the upperclassmen have an FRC team. So the progression is kind of like FTC, FTC, FRC. So for all 3 of us, this is our first year of FRC.
So, going from FDC to FRC is really complicated, as some of you might know. So in order to fix this issue, we've created this thing called Supersonics University, where we have our upperclassmen, our seniors who have a previous experience in the FRC, to tutor the new freshmen, or the new people entering our team. So we have them for each branch, and over here we have mechanical, and people over here. But what this does is it allows us to not only teach new people about FRC and how to get into it, but also create a connection between our upperclassmen and the newcomers. So it creates a good bond that allows us to get more perceptive to our robots.
Yeah. So because FRC is only available to juniors and seniors, the turnover is extremely fast. In your junior year, you'll be focusing a lot on absorbing as much information you can as possible, because in the next year, you're going to be that mentor tutoring these new juniors.
Right, and adding on to Juha, we have our departments. So right now I'm in electrical, Jason's in programming, and Juha is in mechanical. Right. So like many other teams, we also aim to train our underclassmen. So right now we have Tuesdays for mechanical. That includes the mechanical, that also includes programming. And then Fridays are for electrical and also programming sometimes as well. So our seniors are very good at doing their jobs to make sure that everything needs to get done. And the program that we use for CADing is like AutoFusion. And then for us juniors, we have these things called certifications. So we need to get to level 1 and level 2. And then for September and October, we had these certifications that were turned in on Google Classroom. So then I think they were very helpful to contributing to our skills.
Yeah, great point by Harrison. We'll touch on the certifications in a bit. But right now, let's talk more about what we do in terms of outreach. So our school district has a pretty good technology department. We have an FLL league in the middle school, the Lego League, it's available to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So that's sort of the progression from FLL into FTC. And an initiative that we've started pretty recently is we send down high schoolers from the FRC and FTC team down to the middle school so that we can create that bond even better. So here's some photos from our FLL outreach initiatives. As you can see, we're working on the Lego robots, and there's a pretty good number of people on the FLL teams as well.
And adding on to Juha, so the way our school district works is that in 6th to 8th grade, tech is mandatory as an alternative course, but however, once students enter high school, they have the option to choose tech, or they could also join robotics, which is what I did. So even though I don't take I currently don't take any tech classes as high school, I still have a good time learning about technology and the robotics stuff.
Yeah, so this academy, it's an outreach initiative that we started a few years ago. We're trying to work, this was mostly during COVID, so we're trying to bring that back a bit. What we do is, it's this thing called Academy. So Academy is where we teach kids online, both from our local community and around the US, about CAD. So what we do is we use Tinkercad, and that's sort of like the junior program. And as you can see here, this is from a few years ago, but we have host Zoom calls where we teach them how to CAD, and we have another program called Codemy, which is where we use Scratch to teach them how to program.
And so for outreach, we went to nursing homes where there were these senior workshops. So we communicated with seniors, and some of our members would go to these homes and teach them how to use their phones. So for example, here's a member, Samar, and he's teaching one of the residents how to use their widgets. So as a team, part of the FIRST community, we think that's very important to spread technology awareness. So that's why we decided to choose to go to locations such as these.
Yeah, and as a team, as a whole, we really value the power that outreach has to spreading this awareness of technology in our community. So for all members, both juniors and seniors, you are required 2 outreach events per month. This is mandatory. Absolutely no way to get past this, and a lot of our members really enjoy these outreach events.
And some of our other outreaches include the Maker Fair during September. So I went there, I made a TikTok with the captain. So we interviewed teams about one word to describe the robot and what was one challenge that they think that they will face in the year. So I think it's a very important and fun event, and I think that by connecting with other teams in such fun events like these, we get a feel of what FIRST really is. And this is why we aim to have our 2 outreaches per month requirements. And we like to go to these events, straight away.
Yeah, we had a second one at the STEM X Festival at the Cradle of Aviation Museum, not too far from here. So that was where we were able to present basically to the entire Long Island community about our team in particular and about FRC as a whole. It was a really great experience. We got to meet a bunch of great folks, and we showed them our robot and what we do as a team. Yeah, so just a bit about Rookie Alliance. This is another initiative that we started a while ago. It's been a few years, and we're trying to get it back up. It's been sort of dormant. So basically, what Rookie Alliance is, it's a community on Discord where both veteran teams and rookie teams can get together to communicate and share information and share their experiences on FRC. Our main goal is to provide a collaborative support environment where rookie teams can ask, but where veteran teams have the opportunity to share information and practice sharing the ideals of FRC first. So there's a QR code right there if you guys want to join. Whether you're a veteran team or a rookie team, we welcome you.
Add on back to what Stuart was saying about like certifications. I'm part of the programming branch, and we developed a really systematic way of doing it. So, of course, you can learn all your programming from like textbooks and online sources, but if you don't use that programming, you aren't any good. So, what we did actually was found a perfect balance between learning material and applying it to the robot. So, I actually joined the programming branch this year. I had some experience last year, but I'm basically new to FRC when it comes to programming. So, what the seniors did, they actually taught us basically APCSA Java level curriculum in like 3 weeks, which it shocked me, but there was a lot of work in the beginning. We had to get the fundamentals down and make sure everyone understood what the seniors were trying to say. And once you had all the fundamentals down and passed the exam, he started to teach us more topics related to FRC. And with these topics, we actually recently got to apply them to the robot and watch our code actually run on the robot. Which, after seeing my code like actually do something on the robot, I finally like realized that it actually kind of works. So this certification not only shows that you are capable of doing what you can do in your branch, but also builds your confidence in allowing you to like further progress in your abilities.
Yeah, excellent point from Jason. And it's not just programming, we have certifications in all different branches. So we have mechanical ones, electrical ones, CAD ones. So every member has to go through a few set of certifications, and that basically ensures that every member of our team is knowledgeable to some extent in all of the fields, which is really important. Yeah, we'll take questions now.
How do you guys organize your timeline for training? You mentioned how it's mainly a seniors who are doing it, so how do you guys organize it?
Yeah, I'll answer. So that's a really great point. So January, when the season starts, we want to hit the ground running. So it's really important that in the few months leading up to then, we pack in as much information because, like I said, junior year is really the year for learning, the turnover time. So the seniors have basically a plan, and it's more applicable for the start of the year, the first month or two. And that's when we go through the certifications. We have more lecture-style lessons, and then leading into November and December, that's when we really get hands-on experience. So right now, I'm working on the swerve system for the chassis. Jason's working on the programming. And everyone right now is kind of hands-on. So I guess it's like really a natural progression from going from learning to actually doing. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, right there.
Who provides the certifications you guys are talking about? Like, is it from a third-party company, or is it like your team certified kids are good at it?
Yeah, it's some.
So
We have upperclassmen, mainly seniors, who are good at their departments, so such as electrical. And as I mentioned before, they assign their work on Google Classroom. So we also set due dates, but at the same time, we also receive aid from the teacher or from other upperclassmen if necessary. So we have our 1A, 1B, 2A, and 2B, and that was mostly for CADing. So everyone had to do CAD, right? So then we'll go into a classroom where we have an instructor, namely a senior, and then we have Eric Jewell, easy. So he would give us the lesson program. He would show us how it was done on Autodesk, and then we would also replicate that at home too. And I think overall, the deadlines were very flexible. So like we just want to create like an environment where everyone could learn.
Yeah. We'll take a few more in the back.
For the outreach events, if they don't go to them, what happens?
Yeah, so we do have the 2 mandatory outreach events per month. And for the most part, kids are really good about it because we make it fun and engaging. But unfortunately, you're going to get a few members who actually don't show up. And for those people, we have assignments related to outreach and the team. I personally have never done them because I go to the outreach events. But from what I know, it's a writing assignment, and you have to write about the team. Yeah, and you have to have a short talk with the advisor. But
Yeah, we just want to make sure.
yeah.
Comment. I just love that you guys did the senior center. I think that's great.
Oh yeah, we do it every year, and it's something we really keep doing. We'll take one more.
Sorry. You mentioned that robotics was integrated into your class. Harrison mentioned that like you had tech in middle school and that he had the option to take tech over robotics. Is robotics or tech, is that mandatory in high school?
No, yeah, not mandatory, but it's an elective branch that can branch to other faculties as well.
So like robotics can serve as a tech credit, or
Yeah, it serves as a tech credit, but you don't have to take it. But you still need to meet a tech credit. You don't have to take robotics, you have to take some tech class.
Okay, but it does count as a
It does
credit for
count.
your school. Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, we actually have robotic-centered classes. We've got a pretty new program called AI Drones, where we learn about AI and drone mechanics. So our school really invests heavily into our robotics and tech department, which we're so grateful for. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Oh, one more to that.
Can you bring the link back up?
Oh yeah, of course. Rookie Alliance.
Thank you.
No worries. All right, thanks so much, guys. Okay, yeah, I'll give you. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Our biggest one, it's kind of hard to quantify, but sorry, I'll say
school, Sadiston High School, we host a yearly carnival. I'm sure a few of you might have heard of it. But we get schools from all over Long Island. They come to see and the robotics team, we set up a table there, and we attract a bunch of members. So in terms of size, I would say that's our biggest advertisement.
I think one of the most impactful ones for me was, we all know that FRC is not just only in America, it's global. And we actually had some outreaches in India, which I'm not 100% familiar with that because I never actually did it. But I'm pretty sure we taught like young generations in India about the basics of robotics and how to like build a STEM foundation in areas not as fortunate as us. So I think that was really impactful.
Thanks so much, guys.
So that concludes the presentation for this evening, and I just want to take the time to thank all of you guys for coming, making the time, and giving me a presentation. Now before we move on to our roundtable discussion, I would like to introduce the FRC Volunteer Coordinator, Jessica Tiff.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Trippy. I'm officially a mentor with Aftershock Team 263. My daughter is an alum of that team and my husband's also a mentor as well. And a lot of you may recognize me as I am our lead queuer here for First Long Island at Hofstra, and I've also queued at Rampage and Half Hollow Hills, and I've queued at Hudson Valley and Albany before as well. So I wear that hat as well as FRC, but what I wanted to talk to you quickly about was my other hat, and that is as volunteer coordinator with the FLL Challenge program here on Long Island. Now I know in particular that Bethpage is one of the teams that has some form of a requirement for volunteer hours for the team members, and I know several other teams on the island do that as well, and I know a lot of the honor societies have volunteer requirements, hour requirements, and I just wanted to let you know that FRC, FLL Challenge here on Long Island is doing 9 events between now and March. We are looking for student volunteers and adult volunteers both for all 9 of the events. In particular, we are running our practice tournaments next weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday the 13th and 14th of December, in the Bethpage School District, so it's very close to home for the Bethpage students. And I have QR codes with me if anybody wants quick links to volunteer, but we are looking for students to volunteer for all our events. And I can sign off on hours if you have hours for your team or your honor societies or whatever. But I just wanted to put the word out there that we are still looking for volunteers because I know you have requirements and I know I don't have names. So if anybody has any questions or wants the QR codes, I have them. And I'll see everybody at the event. And I'll be back to you for Regal as well.
Okay, thanks.
So right before we start the roundtable discussion, there'll be a 5-minute break. We're going to set up the chairs so you guys can do whatever it is.
It's not that important.
Things are working out.
So I'm actually not. Yeah, so is basically like
signed up for one for setup, one, three. Nothing for two.
Nothing for two. I'll be
And not 1 and 2 for me. I know Saturday small. You're not going to be with me at all on Saturday.
Not
You're
on
with the
Saturday.
team on Saturday.
Yes, I'm not with the team on Saturday.
You're not here.
I'm going to Stockton's conference on Saturday.
Okay, so Sunday you have, all right, I just have, if you'll listen to the time,
Yeah.
I can tell you that, your role is going to be playing, right on 7:30.
So like
7:30. Oh, yeah. I was working on it yesterday, and I got through one player, 1 and 2, but I had to go away. And I wanted, if I do 3, I want to have a window, all of 3.
and not just.
It's now keeps me like it. And to be honest, because I don't have the responsibility. It's kind of big.
We were very late on hosting a meeting about volunteering for how to sign up.
Yeah, I have the QR code before I leave them with you. Somebody for your team, because it'll bring it right into the scan and it'll bring you into just those events.
Myself or Mr. Lusby.
Right, yeah, I brought them just for these, yeah. I didn't scan them because they're more complicated than I know you guys are always
We also have volunteering and work parents.
And that's, there is a line there. If they're volunteering with me, they're with me. If you, they're with you.
Yeah, always.
Because we can't have somebody who's back on the challenge, concession stand.
I made it very clear when we ran the meeting. We're actually having to be yesterday. So we hopefully will get more people volunteering on behalf of our team. With you guys.
11 o'clock Friday night, Saturday morning assignments. It's a killer, and I get it all the time. And especially since I will be at the school Friday night for setup, so. Did you need me? Yes.
Wait, you can keep one there. You can put one there. A chair, yeah.
What I have here is
Wait, hold the curtain more. Jyoti, hold the curtain more.
That's still talking.
If you go in here, we haven't done anything like that. Team trying to get it from? Oh, no. Team 364.
So yeah, we go back to that. Like every other
what I can do is
and we finally reporting to the CPRU program. We'll go back to the actual number.
So the email that was made regular. But I like saying if they don't, then all our meetings. And I do have the QR code. Yeah. This is just the one back at that time they again. I could send each of these. And then you go. But I don't know. You guys are awesome. Where'd you get the
So you remember what it was?
Yeah.
There's wrestling.
We did like a ton.
Yeah.
Like there's more than I can count. Yeah. There's so many. Yeah.
And then they charge me for the drinks that I got.
Like a fun way to get out. Like,
You should have told them. They saw me in the back.
I did, and then they were like, I'm sure.
They said that?
exactly.
Yes.
Bro, you should have been like, I don't know, I'm not sure.
And
I think they still give us the money back. It was $12 total. It was 14. Everything. I didn't. You got how much? Okay, yeah. Yeah. That's actually so cool. Yeah. Joey been looking near the gym. Go that way. Go left. And then Mr. Eagle himself will see you over here. Yeah. Mr. I'm not into do you want to do it, Joey? Absolutely not. No. I'm scared of the media.
That was all very satisfying. Another very
No, sure. It's a big roundtable. I don't want to come back here today.
part of their go somewhere and then follow okay, well, front is one of these where we are, and we use that kind of keep out zones, I'll go to current girls, we went. So the idea was, I mean, so nowhere was in the world. I had started as part of my world. I started the world. Move somewhere and then just move somewhere. Now it knows where it is best. It's not the right thing. Then I have a button, press the button. And it goes to state, and it's okay. Figure
How do you guys know that? Because I saw Russell, so I was like, oh. But that's elite school knowledge. I learned it on Saturday. I'm talking about the office. I mean, I'm not you go down. Go down to the gym. No, I started. Oh, I go down to the gym. You say pit area. Pit area for everything. Yeah, that's Saturday. Like I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I'll share the information with you. I don't know if you just go to the next time, but definitely, like,
Is it just like from half day shifts, so 7:30 to
Saturday, Friday night is 3 hours.
We'll definitely have a number of kids.
Oh, I remember back in the study. Yeah. Back in my head. Back in your study. Were you number one? I was not number one. I was like number 5. I was on JV and I had one twice. You go Johnny Josh is my coach. Absolutely amazing. He's been a varsity for Is he like a low weight? Yeah, he's like one. No, 140. 140. Yeah. Because his dad.
First grade playground. Come on.
Alright, sit down, relax. We want to wrap things up. One last thing. Have a seat, relax. Sit down.
Yeah, it's okay. I loved it. It was so much fun. Is it like a team?
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
I might reach out to them. And FLL team as well. They want to like start with division. I think we're in the wrong row.
I'm not in the right.
You get first exhibition executive to start technology. You get it?
I sadly get your humor. I'm yes, but Cassie said my jokes are funny today.
Because they are.
She said, and I quote, you guys are funny.
Oh no,
Don't hate me. I will send that to you.
I'd like to invite one or two representatives from each team to come up on the stage. And during the roundtable, we'll be talking about training, outreach, team structure, and anything that comes up from the audience or any of the presentations. So to you guys in the audience, please feel free to ask questions as they come up. And for the team representatives, please write your names.
Colin. What? Colin. 2 reps from each team.
Okay. Don't die, please.
Alright, we're going to start with our first question. How would you describe your team culture in one sentence, and what do you do to reinforce it throughout the season?
I can start with this one. I describe our team culture as almost like a family. It's kind of cliche. But like we do a lot together. We spend a lot of time together. So it's always nice that everyone's friendly with each other and that like we can resolve any like disagreements we have in a cordial way, so that everyone's happy and we always support each other whenever we're struggling, whether it's regarding robotics or not.
I'd go back off of that. We meet after school, 15 to 20 hours plus a week. It's basically my second family. So a team is very fun. It's not always work. You're allowed to have the break to have fun.
I'd say like siblings. Yeah. Like I feel like our team is like a bunch of like you both said, like a family, but I think we're all siblings in a way. And I think the dynamic our team has definitely aligns with that.
Me and Anya, we like to tell other people. We like became friends through robotics. We always let everyone think that we're actually siblings. We're not actually siblings. We're people. For reasons we can't explain, people think we're siblings. Yeah, it's just we're really tight knit. Everyone like I made some of my closest friends with robotics, and like really just beyond like the actual robots in STEM. Like it's really just a good place to have a community of people to interact with.
So I'd say our team's very collaborative. So me and Jason, we're brand new to the team, so I guess we're still being adopted. But I feel very close to everyone in my team. But something I really love about our team culture is that everyone in all the departments, like the veteran members and the rookie members, everyone collaborates really well. We've got great conversations, and we learn a lot through those conversations. So I'd say collaborative.
strides this year. We're making lesson plans for our trainings and for our leads so that the mentors are in the loop and so that there's no confusion whether, oh, what do we do this week or what needs to get done, and we have that all laid out.
To build off of what you said, after each of our trainings, we also have each of our leads write this little blurb after their training. So if anyone wasn't there or something around those lines, they can just go back, read them, be caught up on what's going on before asking.
We sort of implementing a lot more training than we have previously, especially with CAD. We now have on-chip certification courses that are required to take to be a part of the division when we built when we actually designed the robot. And we also started using Slack last year, so it really we can talk outside of school now all the time. It's on the Slack. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, in terms of also, we've also been improving the trainings. I was talking to someone about this earlier. So last year, in terms of programming in CAD, it was basically just one person for each department. I coded last year, and it was hell. I remember one night I stayed until like 10:30 p.m. and like I had to walk home, and it was just like we like basically the goal with moving forward with our team, or like especially in terms of software trainings, in terms of CAD trainings, and also our mechanical and outreach team, is we want to create this cycle where students are able to teach the younger generation, younger students, younger kids, to actually maintain what we learn. So in terms of programming, in years past we learned really advanced mechanisms using control to vision systems, but then over time when these skills aren't actually taught, this year we had to re-implement Swerve. That we had to last year we had to learn how to code Swerve drive from scratch. So we were years behind other teams. So this year with a structured training plan where students are able to teach other students, we're able to keep our knowledge moving forward so the team can actually develop moving.
I also think we had to make a really big jump this year. Our team nearly doubled in size, and that made things a lot harder to do when it came to training. Since there's so many of them, and like they're all multiplying. So I think the approach we really took is the emphasis that we placed on like scheduling, communication, all of that. Even though it seems tedious, we found that the consistency and like we kind of went about it in a kind of a little military way. Not like intense, but like it was very consistent. In terms of like every Monday you get a message what trainings are running this week. You sign up for those trainings on Canvas so that there wouldn't be too many people in the build room. And we found that like this like emphasis on constant communication between everyone in the team really led to people getting a good understanding, a good grasp of everything a lot quicker, even considering the large change that we had to make with our team nearly doubling in size.
Yeah, this is similar to what you guys are having. A lot of the problems with last year was that a lot of our seniors miscommunicated with our juniors. They gave them a huge assignment, and the juniors had no idea what they were doing. And they come to the meet with nothing. So that's why we created the Supersonic University, which is our certification program. We had to make sure our new gen, I guess like the people coming in from our sophomore grades, because it's only exclusive to our juniors and senior grades. We had to make sure they understood like the basics so that we could actually teach them and like make sure they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Having a strong foundation is absolutely crucial for our team because of that quick turnover time. And I think we're working really hard to improve it. And the seniors this year have done an excellent job with lesson planning and communication with the juniors.
Yeah, similar to some other teams, we use Slack. And on Slack, we send out constant reminders on when stuff is due, like different projects that we have to do in a certain time frame. And we try to get the students all work on it together and get it done quick.
Especially during like before the meeting starts, usually like 5 to 10 minutes before, we have a giant smartboard in our room as well. And essentially we write down all the things we need to get done and put them in a list of priority. And then usually for the first minutes we go over everything and how we're going to do it, and we get it done.
What was your biggest challenge your team faced last season, and what steps are you taking to address it this year?
I could do this one. So one of our biggest issues this season was building the robot and then CADing the robot off of the build. So we copied the CAD off of what we built it. We had no planning at all in the sense of we built the robot first and then we CAD shit off the build. So I'll give you an example. One of the things we didn't see that would block our camera is it's called a bumper. So, so the bumper was kind of in our camera space, so we had to like change it in the sense of like now we actually need to push more cab.
We had a whole alley fire built that couldn't fit because we didn't plan it out beforehand of how it could fit.
To the hardware side, like I mentioned earlier, last year was our first time using the Swerve drive base. So the entire year was just this like uphill battle of like learning, trying to learn the actual hardware, getting our modules set up. We were using Mark III SDS Swerve SPST Swerve modules, and then transitioned to Thrifty Bot. But then we were having an issue with the encoders, so we had to switch to encoders. But then we were having an issue with the libraries we were using, so we decided to move to yet another generic Swerve library. But then we were having issues with that, and we were still having issues with Swerve at competition until one day, until at one point I was sitting in the pits, and I was like, you know what would be funny? What if one of the gear ratios were messed up? So I had someone open up our Swerve case, they counted the gears individually, and they're like, yo, these two have 12 tooth angle pinions, the other two have 13 tooth. So the entire time I was troubleshooting with a difference in gear ratios. So, but I mean, regardless of that, last year was like pretty like one of our like best seasons so far in terms of actually advancing our knowledge. Be it with mechanisms, we implemented an ARM working with the intake mechanism, Swerve drive, be able to programming, learning to use Pathfinder and use Swerve drive. Also with CAD, last year was the first year that we actually were able to CAD a robot before being able to build it. With also like a new CNC machine and 3D printer, whereas in previous years we were limited to a bandsaw and a drill press, which was just how we built the robots in the past. So I think regardless of all the struggles we do face, I'm pretty thankful for everything we went through, and I think we did a pretty good job.
You covered it all.
I think last year, because both me and Juan were not on the FRC team, we were on the FCC team. But last year, one of the biggest issues we had was we just did not have an on-time. So yeah, I think the only reason we didn't have an on-time was because we did not manage our time properly. We spent a lot of our time trying to figure out teleop, perfecting our teleop, and making sure that everything ran according to plan. And then we just kind of rushed on-time to the side. And I just think that if we had planned like the on-time better and maybe just put a little bit more time into it, we would have been a lot more successful. And I've seen this year, our team has just outlined everything. We're not even in season yet. We have almost everything outlined and ready to go for what's going on in the season. So I think that's it.
We used the same Swerve base as Apple Hills, and we had a lot of the same problems as them. Like, when we ordered the actual Swerve modules, they gave us the wrong gears for each Swerve module, so it would never drive correctly. Like, for the entire season, we couldn't figure out why it wasn't driving correctly. And then I think someone from your team came and told us that you guys counted your opinions.
Oh, I remember.
And we did it, and then we finally got it working like, later on in the competition.
Yeah, it was like, the other thing was that we used some CTR equipment on our Swerve base because we had random motors. And so we had to rebuild the Swerve base from scratch. And the other thing was that this caused a lot of issues with the CAN. So we didn't actually have like a working CAN bus on the Swerve base until after build season started. So it was honestly really bad. And even the Swerve drive base, it wasn't even working until the last round of the last day of our first mission. Otherwise, it was just completely non-functional. So, well, after that, now we learned to use all CTR equipment and just use the libraries they gave us. So, yeah.
Kind of jumping off what Jason said, we also kind of have an issue where we don't have a lot of programmers, so we definitely need to put more emphasis on our Auton. Last year, I don't know you guys, after Rampage, we bring the field to the local church, or that church, and we have it there for the week, and that's really good for Auton. But we didn't finish our Auton until like the very end of that week, and we spent so much time during that week in the field just working on Auton, like practice to it, I guess, beforehand. So don't procrastinate the autonomous. That's a really good tip. And then another issue we faced is, so last year we had, I think, 11 seniors graduate, the same with the year before, and now we have a group of 3 seniors. So it's a big drop. So that's why we're trying to emphasize those training groups so much over the last 2-3 years, because if we have a big class like that leaves, it kind of leaves the other underclassmen that's why we're putting so much emphasis on training, so that every the next couple of years we're prepared for the next.
And for our last question, how does your team support students in balancing robotics with schoolwork and other commitments, especially as build season moves on?
So we always stress that school comes first, and in our district, robotics is a club. So make sure that you're staying on top of your schoolwork whenever you go to competitions. We always implement study sessions, so at night we'll have to about everybody class homework so we get off on behind the classes. Since our team has all 4 years, we always stress that the basketball team have like a basketball team never use it because they've been probably taking classes teacher. So that's stress.
Along with that, during like our introduction meeting in the beginning of the year, we tell our students that if they should have a certain grade range if they're going to competition. So before any competition, our mentors they check their grades to see that they are doing good and they have that confidence. And then it's basically like an encouragement to them to also like do good in their studies while they're doing robotics.
We have a very similar thing where we always make sure that everyone, if they need help, us ask if we can help them. That people on the team of all grade levels of all classes. I just helped someone the other day because I wasn't doing anything for 30 minutes, but see how they would do it. Like good.
Yeah, like our team itself is very, very like not strict, but like we do prioritize our grades over our schoolwork. Like there's this one very dedicated student to robotics. He's just very smart. He's the best programmer on the team. He loves first so much in the sense of that sometimes he would code robots at 2 a.m. instead of studying for the test he had. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we got a very similar guy on our team. He's actually a sophomore on the senior team, so it's really funny. And man, he'll spend nights just catting and catting and catting. Like, if there's one thing in life that he's passionate about, it's catting. But for the rest of the members, it's really important to strike a good, I guess, robotics and school balance. And so what we do, like, at a lot of our competitions, at least on the MPC team, we have a table that we work off for studying. I think as a whole, our robotics team, a lot of the members on it are quite academic, and they spend a lot of time on school as well as robotics. So those are really like 2 big things in their life, and prioritize that very much.
So we can't. So like we're technically like we can't.
Yeah, we can't
we're not
do that.
allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of our motivation. Moving past that, I think with in the recent years, like we kind of transitioned from from my freshman year, at least among like the newer members, it was a bit more of a competitive environment where people felt like they had to show up to every session, stay like as long as possible, come as early as possible. But I think in recent years, like, as the team has evolved, as we've been able to delegate tasks more with the more organized system, people understand the fact that you don't have to show up to every single session to be good at what you do. You don't have to show up to every little thing, be a part of every single event that's going on. But what's important is that when you're balancing other things, you're able to basically you need priorities. You need to be able to, if you're on programming, you need to be able to do your job with programming while also being able to maintain your schoolwork. So it's a really good idea you brought up a couple like study sessions thing. I think I kind of want to implement that in the middle season.
Yeah, I think definitely in recent years, like Muhammad is saying, our team culture has changed like a lot. To be completely honest with you guys, like in my freshman year, I'd say like school robotics balance was not something that was greatly emphasized. It was a lot of like, okay, let's see who can lock in the most and stay here the longest. And it's just like, no one can like realistically, like if, like why are we doing survival of the fittest here? Like I can't, like it's not good for anyone. But what we found is our team has gotten bigger and, you know, as we've kind of, as Muhammad said, gotten with the times, like we've seen like priorities shift a bit because we've had more people on the team, more ability to delegate these tasks. So people are feeling like less inclined that they have to burn themselves out at robotics, and they have the ability to like adequately manage their academic and robotics life and excel in both.
Yeah, but we need like something programmed, like almost
They're like, okay, yo, do that. I was like, oh, I can go home. I'm not saying maybe like overwork your opinions, but like, you get what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like a more personal level for me, but I think there's also like a rite of passage for everyone to realize that there is a balance between school and robotics. For me, it was the sophomore year, near midterm seasons. I had a chemistry midterm the next day, and I had a programming assignment also due the next day, and so I didn't care about chemistry. Do one of those things.
And there were consequences. I know firsthand as well. Yeah, no joke, that balance.
So for our team, we have meetings every single day of the week except for Sunday. But our meetings aren't that long; they're 3 hours each. So it leaves a good amount of time for the students to go home and do their homework. And also, we have a lot of kids on our team that take like a lot of advanced classes. So for kids that might not know what they're doing in those classes, they can always just ask any of their teammates to help them. And they're willing to help anytime.
Sorry. I'm also a senior. I wanted to add something to what they were saying. Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm the first year representative, and I'm also the program lead. Sorry to crash your guys' party. You guys are really cool. But I just wanted to say, just to kind of put this out there, also what you guys saying about like the attendance. We implemented a system for attendance a few years ago, and I feel like in the beginning it was like who can get the most hours. Like that means you're the most valuable on the team. So from then we kind of like degraded that like mindset. Like it's what you do, not how long you're here. We do like to look at hours because sometimes you are here with other people, and that does correlate to work done, but not necessarily. We try to like get people to, you're here to do work, not here just to like sit or here just to like rack up the hours. You know what I mean? So, thank you.
To kind of piggyback up what we said with people and hours and stuff. Sometimes we have meetings toward like the end of build season where it's really kind of just the programmers have the robot and they're just throwing autos at this robot constantly, or we're making small adjustments. We'll have people who come to the meetings and then they're just sitting around doing nothing, and we'll have a whole group come together and just do homework and ask each other questions. We started a channel on our site that's like homework help, and people throw their homework in there whenever they need help. And sometimes we kind of just have the seniors help their underclassmen, even if we're in the middle of like anything.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jason, we've never really experienced that middle season crunch because we're new to the team. But honestly, we're looking forward to it. We know it's going to be rough, but like we've got such a great community behind us. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. At least me personally.
Are you guys planning on building your junior and senior body this year?
Yeah, so we're literally just having one month.
There's no one else signing up. Then that concludes our 8th annual Regal Roundtable.
If anyone out there has questions you would like us to answer, feel free to ask. And if you guys have questions about just not talking about anything, that's feel free to ask as well.
I got a question. This is more fun. I apologize if you're asking. What is your favorite thing that your team does to kind of promote like bonding? Hopefully, I know you guys probably all bond in the trenches of build season. I'm seeing external.
I'd say we do a lot of eating. But if we stay late, we tend to order. So if it's like, it doesn't really start with the build season, but on Saturdays, every Saturday we'll have the parents will bring in lunch, and then we'll all be together in the room together. That's one thing. Food always makes people sick. Sometimes during the late nights, we'll do Taco Bell. That also helps with bonding. Yeah, we've been doing it. See, we can broaden that. But yeah, that's one big thing.
So we have a lot of field trips up there and lots of music. So in every class, I never always brings up speaker, and we just listen to music and coding basically in one class. I don't even know, Rihanna. This guy fit with artists here. So we always blast that.
And I would love to say bonding in the sense of doing things with our robot that our robot was not built to do. So we built our robot to do L1, L2, L3, L4. We hit 2 out of those 4. But then we could hit L4 once in a blue moon if we rotated the robot 180, shot the elevator all the way up, and then threw the coral across the field. It worked once out of like 48 times, and then we tried it once in a match and got like 3 major penalties. So, yeah. So it's just stuff like that.
How many teams have broken their ceiling? Maybe like deconstructed feel different. Any other fun questions or do you have any of that?
I only hit my coach in the face with the arm.
Not the skill. Everyone was, they need a morale boost.
Yeah.
We have an outreach event where it's like fundraising. Not our entire team, but whoever wants to go, we go to a gym and we play dodgeball with each other. It's very fun throwing balls at each other.
Oh yeah. At our kickoff event, we do game simulation. So we'll take like the scooters you play with the gym and like and we like run through the game. So like for the last kickoff, we had like hockey nets and like dodgeballs and scooters and cones and stuff, and we had to like go and play the game with like get the algae off the reef and like take the cones and put them on like we had stack the larger cones and stack them on to simulate the reef. And we do that every kickoff as part of our kickoff event. So that's what we do.
Yeah, our team does like a silly gift exchange between the leaders. Like it's usually like the dumbest gifts ever. Last year, I think someone got like a walking HR violation shirt. What was the other one? I know I got someone like a bunch of rubber ducks.
Our captain's vertically challenged, so someone got him
Yeah.
shirtless.
Oh, and he's also colorblind. So he got a green shirt. What did it say? I don't remember, but he's red green colorblind, so they got him a green shirt as well. Yeah.
So our team, our main advisor is a guy called Che. I think his son goes to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. So within our team, he's a character. We all absolutely love Che. And the first thing I noticed when I first joined FRC is that there's a bunch of like Che memes like plastered all over the rooms. I personally thought they were hilarious, and it really brought me closer not only to the team but like to our advisor.
We made custom safety signs with kids from our team.
Oh, yeah,
I took a senior who had long graduated and then put him on a poster like, where your God was like your father before you. He came in one day with my picture. It's
hilarious.
I have him on tape now.
Kind of piggybacking off that. What's your guys' team's relationship with your alumni? Just curious.
It's good. It's good. We have an alumni right here.
Hi, I'm a mentor now.
Our older brother.
We have a lot of our alumni come back and help us with stuff. Like we have this one guy named Asbot who graduated like 5 years ago. He comes back like almost every meeting for the preseason meetings when he can, and he helps us. Right now we're trying to develop odometry for our drive base for like next year, and he's been helping us a lot with like the raspberry clouds, working on the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, I think our team, we had last year our lead programmer was this guy called Mamet, and he's graduated now. He did Purdue and studied computer science. And our current seniors, we were doing vision and limelights, and our senior, one of my seniors didn't understand it. So he just goes on the Discord like, at Mamet, you know how I do this. Like, he just responds.
In seconds, by the way.
Yeah, in seconds.
Yeah, so I guess our alumni network is basically the Discord. We've got a bunch of active members on there, and they're always there to help us. It's great.
Whenever anyone's home from college, they always stop by and help, and always on the Slack post, and you can always add them, and then they'll always respond pretty fast. So.
Yeah, like our last year, our head programmer Alex, we called him, smartest guy I've ever met. I still don't know why he took AP. He didn't take any AP. I still don't know why. Sometimes I like copy and paste code and like DM him, and then he'll just like trash talk the code because it's so bad sometimes. And he helps me fix it and make it all good. So and it works on the robot now. So
I find that very reminiscent of what we did this preseason. Our cache on our video like died. It was full. Yeah, it was full. So our robot just wouldn't do it. So then our lead programmer last year goes to Sunnybrook now. So like he'd come home on the
competed or that you know of, and why?
I think, like, hold on, first of all, what's the whole, like, teaser? How did people figure that out so quickly? Like, the whole, like, puzzle thing?
Oh, I don't know, that's crazy. They
I don't know.
Up by, like, in an instant. They got it. Like, and it's like, they just like, oh, this has Grace left on it. Maybe it'll spell out something. And then they instantly got it.
Piece together some puzzles.
Yeah, for context, one of the teasers was like a big thing of all the past fields, like each year's past field, and it had like a portion of it grayed out, and when you arranged it, it spelled out rebuilt with all of the fields, and like, who has the time to do that? They did math, bro. Yeah, they did.
You mean we all thought of that? We just didn't get to it.
Yeah, I'm curious how this game is gonna have like all like aspects of all those past games in it. Because the fields in the past have been really different. Like Steamworks a while ago, that had like the human players on the field in like in its own enclosure. Yeah, exactly. So like, are they gonna bring something like that back? They switch from hexagon field to like these longer, long rectangle fields. There's been a lot of climbing in years past, and I'm maybe like thinking, what if there's like the buddy climbing like they did in 2018, where like you have to climb off your team robot, and how wrong could that go? But yeah, this year's gonna be exciting. My favorite game. My favorite game is probably Crescendo. I do a lot of music other than robotics as one of my main extracurriculars, so kind of bridge that music and robotics plus phone frames are really fun to throw on people. Yeah, I feel like that year was my sophomore year, so I got to know the team the best because I already established myself as a freshman. Now I know these people, I was able to get the best experience.
I like the charged up behind it. I think that was really cool. Especially the freshmen, like seeing people actually do that. It was really cool.
I also thought the charged up game was probably one of my favorite with like how they had to balance how the incline thing in the middle. That was cool.
I think Charge Up was also my favorite, but maybe I'm just saying that because of like nostalgia of my freshman year. But like, I don't know if you guys remember Dumpy, but like he's like, to me he's like iconic robot. Yes, he does. But yeah, so that was definitely my favorite. Maybe it was because of Dumpy, but you know, yeah.
I mean, Crescendo was the first robot I ever got to work with. Also, like I saw, like, I feel like shooting games, like, this is my opinion, like, a lot more cooler than competing in games. It's like, okay, you're like lifting something with a robot, like, what about just like shooting stuff? Like, I feel like that's just more fun.
Does it have to be the games that we've experienced, or just any game?
Any game from 1992 to 2026.
I would say, before my time, Rapid React. I just thought the idea of having 2 levels to shoot on balls, and the fact of that climbing game, the climbing on that is kind of cool to see, in the sense of jumping from bar to bar.
I saw on Instagram a couple weeks ago, there was a team that would just jump to the highest bar.
Oh, I've seen that. The pneumatics.
4907.
Something.
4907.
I've never seen it before. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen on the internet. It was like 130 pound jumping.
I Crescendo for a lot of the same reasons actually, like it's kind of uncanny how simple. I'm a big music person as a sophomore, and it was just a lot of fun. It was the first time I really like contributed to the robots. There was a lot of really beautiful things.
Yeah. Not a lot of experience to go off, but you sound really great.
Yeah. I like the FTC one, just like infinite reach.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Charged Up is my favorite, just because it's my freshman year. Yeah. I got some effective.
The same reason I also think Crescendo is my favorite because I'm also my freshman year, was the first year in person. And also just the shooting aspect. Yeah, very fun. Yeah, the other question.
Definitely the Invitational for us. We had, I think, a record amount of teams this year, like including teams who brought 2 robots. I think almost 24 or 25 teams. It definitely brings in a lot for our team. And even more so that, it's just a really fun thing to host. So yeah, definitely the Invitational for us.
I think with our team,
Like, I would say the carnival, like,
yeah.
so, really funny story.
Thank you for having us.
with the carnival is we actually sell pie throws. And for like some premium members of the club, like our advisor Che, we auctioned them off. I think last year we sold a single pie for $500. It was absurd.
It was around $250.
Oh, $250. Thanks, Andy. Like it's insane. Like the amount of people that are willing to pay that much money to just pie Che in the face. But I really think it's like a great fundraiser, not because it makes us a lot of money, but because it's like so fun and it lets us like engage with the community, which I think is great.
$250.
For that one kid where no one wanted to spend more than $10 to find.
No, but we auction.
I know
The
John
auction
Chen.
always has
Not
more.
where
You have to have that option. So I got into this fight. We get a couple of these.
This informal stuff is part of what makes conferences great too.
Yeah.
We do need to wrap it up. I encourage all you guys to stand with each other and any concluding remarks.
I just want to say thank you all again for supporting our event, because you guys and our mentors are the reason this event is so successful. And before you guys go, can you just everyone gather on the